Today in the pedal vault, the KMA audio machines Minos.
The Minos was made by the German company KMA Audio Machines. They are well known for making the Wurm or the Dead Stack or the Fuzz, which I all reviewed on this channel. The Minos is a Germanium fuzz and it comes in this standard metal housing. It has some nice, sick old school artwork, and I mean old school quite literally. It comes with 3 knobs: input, output and anger. Anger is basically the distortion control or the fuzz control. We have a tone cut, and we have this switch that's basically a bass switch that offers 3 different settings, from lo-fi garage over to punchy mids till thick and saturated fuzz from the golden era. I recitated this directly from the manual. Okay. We also have some internal trims that I will show you in a minute. So let's look at the curve. We see a drop in the low frequencies. You can nicely see what the cut control does. Cuts everything above 6K. Let's leave it here. So the input control is kind of like a high pass. You can see fully clockwise. It's letting more bass come through than when dialed in noon. So we leave it here. The output, of course, level control. We can go quite high. So let's leave it here. And the anger control does some volume as well, but gain is of course not visible or not as good visible as those other controls in this EQ curve. So we leave it at noon, at 0. So the bass switch, we are currently in position 1. Let's go to position 2. Added boost, and I think this is even more bass. Yeah, seems so. Okay, we leave it at position 1. And now let's have a look at the back. So those 2 internal trim ports set the bias of the 2nd and 3rd transistor. And let's see if we can see it on the curve. Okay, let's see what this thing does. Drastically reduces the volume to nothing. Okay, this was stock setting. Okay. Nothing that we can see in the curve. Now let's see what you do. Volume. Okay, so it's again a volume control, kinda. We have to find out in the audio comparison what those 2 trim ports do. But for the regular review, I won't touch those, but I'll dive deeper into the functionality in the live review. For the live review part I chose my Black Hat Custom, and as far as the amps go I chose the Fractal Audio XFX. More specific, the Brit 800 mod. I dialed the gain way back, and as for a cap IR I chose a Bogren IR, the I don't even. So here's the clean sound, clean-ish. Now I'll activate the minus, dial it in a bit until I find a sound that I quite like. Maybe I'll tweak the amp, maybe I don't, and after that I play around with the internal trim ports and see what I can come up with them. Okay, quite like this sound for a fuzz sound. I'm generally not into fuzz sounds, but this is, I think it's good. Okay, now for the internal trim ports. And let's find out what those do. Okay, there are mostly volume changers, but I don't think you actually need them to tweak. I think that the pre-dialed-in settings were actually quite good. Although, again, I'm not into fuzz pedals, but if you are, you maybe find some help with those. I actually don't need them. So, and with this, here comes the verdict.
As you should know by now, I'm not a huge fan of fuzz pedals, therefore I have not this much experience with dialing them in. I mostly like my fuzz pedals if I can get some distorted sounds out of them as a distortion pedal. It might be a really nasty distortion pedal, but in general, I don't like the typical fuzz sound. Therefore, it was quite hard a time to actually review this pedal, because this gives you, of course, a really, really fuzzy fuzz sound. But that being said, it's of course a very good fuzz sound. It has some real bottom end. It's really nasty. It's full. You get very good sustain, and you have lots of tweaking options with the 2 mini switches and again with the 3 control knobs. I was able to dial in a sound that wasn't as fuzzy, as pumping, as saturated, which I really liked. But you have to be aware of, again, the fact that this is a fuzz pedal. As for the internal trim pods, they mostly change the bias of the pedal. I found them to be to have very subtle impact on the sound, so I touched them in the live review and of course in the EQ comparison. But all in all, I don't think I have to use it, because they were already dialed in perfectly, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a Germanium fuzz pedal, don't look further. I think the KMA Audio Machine Minos is the way to go because of the quality of KMA audio machines in general. So if you have any questions or suggestions or whatever, just leave me a comment. And as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. May the force be with you and have a nice day.